What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Coffee Pod. My name is Chisha Zed.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
What's up, gentlemen? Quick question for you. How many of you guys, comment down below, have ever been in any type of couples therapy? Anybody at all? This video that I'm about to react to is titled, I Have Been Trained. This is a woman talking here. She says, I have been trained to never believe a woman's story in a marriage. She also happens to be what sounds like some type of a therapist. And she talks about something we hear far too often. When a man and woman go to see like a therapist or like a couples counselor, usually they tend to side or be more biased towards believing the woman. This could be for a lot of reasons, which is why a lot of guys don't even really like the idea of couples counseling. And it's really difficult to find good therapists for men in particular. I believe therapy is a good thing for anybody when you have a good therapist. Let's take a listen to this woman, man, talking about this particular topic. No more wasting time. Let's get it.
I have been trained, very strongly trained by my mentor, to never believe a woman's story in her marriage. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I have gotten sucked into a woman's story because we are so convincing. We are so manipulative. We know how to dramatize and exaggerate the circumstances and experiences in the marriage to suck someone in, to feel sorry for us, to validate us in our victim story, and have even really no awareness to question that story from a woman and try to understand, well, what would the husband say, or what's his experience though? What's his side of the story? And we bring that into therapy. So like I said, I can't tell you how many times over 10 years that I got sucked into a woman's story, and my mentor had to help me break through my cognitive dissonance and get back to the fundamental truth that I know. I've gotten so much better. It's very rare that happens now, but it can still happen because we are so convincing. It's just like, it would almost be blasphemy to not believe some of the things a woman says. And, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. Maybe he's not a good man.
Right.
We are so convincing. And I've also had the pleasure over the years where I've worked with a woman. She has a strong story of her husband and how he can be aggressive or controlling and a narcissist. And she paints this story. And then I've had the pleasure to actually meet her husband, because she's tried to, we always want our husbands to change. So it's interesting. Women will convince their husbands to take my men's course, which is interesting because of what I teach men in that course, which is about all our woman ways and how men have to take their power back. But I've met these husbands, and I meet them, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she has this story of this man, because they're the typical good man, just loves their wife, is caring, is confused about how they're always wrong and can't be right. And when I meet the husband, it doesn't add up at all with the woman's story of him. So therapists are not trained to break through the stories of a woman. And because they're already biased,
unless they drink coffee,
they already have that gender bias.
Right.
To believe and take on the perceptions of the woman and have that prejudice towards men, they get sucked in. And here's the thing, is that the very same tactics we use as women in a marriage to manipulate our husbands and brainwash them to believe they are the problem are the same manipulative tactics that we use to draw a therapist into our story.
Hold on, man. This chick's preaching right now.
And get the therapist on our side. We're using the same tactics, and then the therapist gets brainwashed into believing the man is the problem.
Huh.
I've had several female clients over the years who very quickly trusted me because I didn't buy into their stories and I called them out on it. I have one client in particular, I will never forget my first conversation with her. She reached out to me. She had this big story about her husband. He never pays me any attention. He doesn't validate me. He doesn't even compliment me ever. He never even says I love you. And she had this whole story, but she was also sharing, but I know I have these behaviors and this is how I show up. And this is a very high powered woman with a very successful business. And she gets done telling her story. And I knew I had to be totally direct with her to gain her trust, to gain her respect. And I told her point blank, the problem is your husband is terrified of you because you are such, pardon my language, because you are such a bitch.
She's got my vote. She's got my vote. Terrified of your wife. Yeah, the problem with being a weak man is that you're just no good for yourself and you're no good for the person who you are in a relationship with, the chick who you're dating, whoever she may be. You're no good for them. Because just imagine this was a woman who was afraid that if she said the wrong thing, or a man, because those exist too, was afraid that if she called the wife out, noticing that she was in charge of that relationship, wearing the pants, it could jeopardize the money. It could jeopardize them coming back. She might say, I don't know how I feel about her. She really wasn't listening to me, right, John? Did you think she was listening? And you're like, oh, it's whatever you want. Because I can imagine there are a lot of therapists who have kind of weighed that out and been like, should I be honest here or should I tiptoe around the problem here in this situation? And they've tiptoed around. Yeah. Let's keep listening.
And I didn't mean it mean, and I didn't mean it judgmentally. I was just telling it to her straight, and also knowing the own experience of myself as a woman and the women that I had worked with. And her jaw dropped open and I didn't know what was going to come out next. But she just looked at me and she said, thank you. You're 100% correct. She said, I've never, ever had a therapist ever be direct with me and has always let me manipulate them. You're the first person who's called me out.
Damn.
So we have to be called out, women, and we have to see what's really going on. And if a couples counselor isn't going to do that because they're already trained to believe our story.
Whoa. Listen, man, as always, we're going to check out some of these comments. What did you guys think of that? What did you think of that? First comment here comes from a gentleman. He says, my wife kept trying to get me to go to counseling. We went. She was told things she needed to change. She didn't want to go back. True. So because they didn't validate her perfect image of herself, because she thought they were going to go there and talk about this gentleman, she didn't want to go back. She walked in there and said, I thought this was a feminist organization and not a coffee shop.
You think you're better than everybody in a coffee shop?
Another gentleman here says, my wife, whenever a therapist disagreed with her, she would switch therapists that would agree with her. Wow. Imagine that. Somebody else here says, told my wife the kids will find out who you are when they grow up. And they will. They will. We got another comment here from another gentleman that says, my family was shocked to find out my side of the divorce. I still get apologies 3 years later. And that's, of course, because of that bias to believe whatever comes out of the woman's mouth and think that the man is always the problem. You know what? I actually just thought of something. I remember being younger. Whenever I would be around my mother, I would hear, her and her friends talk about other couples like within the community, you know, just family stuff, church stuff. I was raised like in the church as well. And to me, it almost always sounded like the way the women would talk, that the men were usually the problem. And I actually think I asked my mother at the time about that. I don't remember exactly how that conversation ended, but it's not until you're old enough to get caffeinated that you understand that it's not always your fault. Now, does that mean men are blameless? No. But that's not the problem. The problem is that we're taught that women are angels, and they're far from it, especially modern women. For sure. Here's another comment from another man that says, these comments help me realize I'm not alone out here. It's very heartwarming. Thanks, guys. 332 likes on that one. So here, guys congregating together here, they like the community of being able to not feel like they are crazy. Another comment here says 6 months of couple sessions, all focused on me. The therapist finally opted to shift to my ex. Gently for one session, my ex refused to go back. Damn.
Put that coffee down.
That's what she said. She's watching him drink all those cups. 6 sessions. Oh, 6 months. My bad. Focused on him. One session focused on her. And she couldn't take it. Another gentleman here says, tried to go to therapy with my ex. She literally said, why? So she can tell me I'm wrong? With the dead emoji. And that's a red flag in itself. You'd think if you actually believe you are wrong, you'd want to do what it takes to fix it. Another comment here says, when my last girlfriend asked me to go to therapy, therapist basically told me to leave the relationship. We've got somebody else here who says, apparently divorce judges need to take this course. Facts with the 100 emoji. And somebody else here says, my wife always plays the victim and I am the one who has to change, but she never changes a thing. Another commenter here says, a divorced woman I dated said in the beginning she left him because he was a bad husband. Years later, she slipped and said he kicked her out. Oops. Here's another comment from a man who says, facts with the 100 emoji. Goes on to say, even our female co-parenting counselor was constantly calling her on her BS. It was refreshing not feeling crazy. The 100 emoji. And we've got our final comment here from a woman who says, my friends don't ask me for marriage advice anymore because I don't instantly side with them. I have a wonderful marriage, she says, and I just try to see both. And this is a woman who went through the fire in that marriage and decided not to make herself a victim. It's not easy. But other people just aren't willing to be that honest. What do you guys think? What's been your experience? Share your story about couples counseling that you've had before. Comment down below, guys. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.